Welcome back. Last time we were taking that cosmic view with book 3 of Educations.
Yeah.
But today we're diving into book 4,
All right.
getting our hands dirty with duty and service.
Okay.
Now I know what you might be thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Duty.
Right.
Sounds a bit heavy, right?
Yeah.
But trust me,
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius, he makes it surprisingly relevant,
Mm.
even empowering
Yeah.
for your life today.
Interesting.
So,
It is a fascinating shift,
yeah,
from that grand scope of the universe
right.
to the immediate actions that we take in our daily lives.
Right. It's like, all right, we've had our existential crisis.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
What do we actually do about it?
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that Marcus Aurelius, he links duty
Right.
to our very nature as humans.
Yes, exactly. He argues that
Okay.
we're inherently rational
Okay.
and social beings. So
Yeah.
duty isn't some,
External.
yeah, like external rule book.
Right.
It's about living in alignment with who we are
Oh, okay.
at our core.
So instead of
Yeah.
shoulds and have tos,
Yeah.
it's about recognizing our
Yes.
natural inclinations
Precisely.
towards reason and connection.
He uses this this powerful image.
Okay.
Whatever is not good for the swarm, neither is it good for the bee.
Wow.
Meaning we thrive when the community thrives.
Okay.
Our well-being is tied to the well-being of the whole.
It makes you think about
Right.
all the different swarm you're a part of,
Exactly.
right?
Uh-huh.
Family, work, your neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
even the online communities you engage with.
Yeah, it raises the question.
Right.
Are you the bee that hoards honey for itself
Hmm.
or the bee that contributes to the hive?
And that leads us to another key point.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius is all about action,
Right?
not just words.
Absolutely.
It's not enough to just think about being a good person.
Right.
You have to actually be one.
He famously says, and I love this quote, "No longer talk at all about the kind of man
Oh, wow.
that a good man ought to be, but be that man."
Mm-hmm.
It's a call to embody virtue
Right.
in every choice we make,
Yeah.
every action we take.
It's a good reminder that we can get caught up in the intellectual side of things, but
Mhm.
ultimately it's about how we show up in
Right.
the world.
It's
Yeah.
like that saying,
Yeah.
walk the walk, don't just talk the talk.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the concept of justice,
yeah.
which is central to Book 4 from
Mhm.
Marcus Aurelius.
Mm-hmm.
Justice goes beyond laws and punishments.
Okay.
It's about fairness, respect,
Mhm.
ensuring everyone gets what they deserve.
So it's less about an eye for an eye
Exactly.
and more about
Right.
creating a system where everyone can flourish.
He sees reason
Okay.
as the foundation of justice.
Mm.
It's about using our ability to think rationally,
Right.
to create a more equitable and harmonious society.
Okay.
Just imagine a world
Yeah.
where decisions are made based on logic and fairness
Right.
rather than personal gain or bias.
Now that's a world I'd like to live in. But
Yeah.
but let's be real.
Yeah.
Doing the right thing isn't always a walk in the park.
No.
We face setbacks,
Of course.
criticism,
Yeah.
even our own internal struggles. How
Yeah.
how does Marcus Aurelius deal with those?
He acknowledges the difficulty,
Yeah.
but emphasizes our control over our own judgments
Mhm.
and responses.
Okay.
He says, if you are pained by any external thing,
Okay.
it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it.
Right.
And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now.
Wow. That's a powerful reminder.
It is.
We can't control what life throws at us,
Right.
but we can control
We can control how we react.
how we react. Yeah.
Exactly.
It reminds me of that quote.
Yeah.
Pain is inevitable. Suffering is
Yeah.
optional.
And that's where perseverance comes in.
Right.
Living virtuously, fulfilling our duty,
Yeah.
requires constant effort
Right.
and a willingness to face challenges head on.
Mm-hmm.
We don't achieve some perfect state of goodness.
Right.
It's an ongoing practice.
It's a bit like an athlete training for a marathon, right?
Yes.
There will be days when
Absolutely.
they don't feel like running when they hit a wall, but they keep pushing through because they have that bigger goal in mind.
And in Book 4,
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius takes this idea of individual effort
Okay.
and connects it to something bigger.
All right.
This idea of finding your specific role
Okay.
in the cosmic drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if he's saying,
Okay.
okay, now that we've laid the groundwork,
Mm-hmm.
let's get personal.
Yeah.
What's your part in all of this?
So it's not just about abstract principles anymore.
Okay.
It's about figuring out your unique contribution to the world.
He encourages us to see our lives as a stage
Okay.
with different acts.
Mm-hmm.
And we have different roles to play
Okay.
for different audiences.
Like a parent, a friend, a citizen. Each role comes with its
Yes.
own set of responsibilities,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes those roles overlap and even conflict.
Absolutely.
So how do we figure out
Right.
which one to prioritize? Where do we even begin?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one we'll be exploring in more depth in the next part
Okay.
of our deep dive.
All right. So hold on to your togas, folks, because things are about to get really practical. Welcome back to our deep dive into Book 4 of Medications.
Yes.
We left off.
Right.
We were talking about those different roles we play. Parent, friend, citizen, and how each comes with its own set of duties.
Right.
It's almost like juggling this. Try and keep all those balls in the air.
Absolutely.
So how do we go from those big picture ideas to actual practical action?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we make those Stoic principles work for us in our daily lives?
So it's like having a toolbox full of Stoic strategies to help us.
It is a great analogy.
Yeah.
It is. And one of the most powerful tools in that toolbox is the principle of focusing on what's within our control.
Right.
He reminds us time and time again, we can't control external events, but we can control our own judgments and actions.
So rather than getting caught up in worrying about things we can't change, we should just focus on how we respond to
Exactly. It's about shifting our attention
them.
from things that are outside our sphere of influence to things we can directly impact.
Right.
Instead of fretting about the outcome, concentrate on doing your duty to the best of your ability in each moment.
It sounds simple, but in practice, it's not always
easy. Our minds tend to wander. We get caught up in distractions, anxieties about the future.
That's where self-awareness.
Exactly. Marcus Aurelius was a big advocate for examining our thoughts and motivations, asking ourselves, why am I reacting this way? What's driving my behavior? It's about recognizing those irrational impulses or selfish desires that can lead us astray.
So it's like having this inner dialogue with yourself, constantly checking in and course correcting when needed.
It's an ongoing practice of aligning your actions with your understanding of virtue. And sometimes that means choosing the harder path. The path that aligns with your values. Even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable.
I mean, that saying, the right thing and the easy thing are rarely the same thing.
But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a grim or overly serious process. Remember, Marcus Aurelius also emphasized humor and lightness. It's about finding that balance between taking our duty seriously but not taking ourselves too seriously.
That makes it feel a lot less intimidating.
It does.
It's about approaching life with a sense of purpose and responsibility, but also with a good dose of humor and self-compassion. And that brings us to another practical tool, focusing on the present moment.
That's right.
We can only control our actions in the here and now, not in the past.
That's right.
So
instead of dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about what might happen, we should focus on doing our best in this very moment.
Sounds like a mindfulness practice.
Absolutely. It's about bringing your full attention to the task at hand, whatever it may be. And approaching it with mindfulness and intention. Now, I realize this is easier said than done in our fast-paced world. But even small moments of mindful action can make a difference.
I can see how that shift in focus could reduce stress.
It does.
Instead of being scattered in a million directions, you're fully present in what you're doing.
And that presence allows you to act with more clarity and purpose. It's about making conscious choices rather than simply reacting to whatever comes your way.
So we've got self-awareness, present moment focus. Any other Stoic gems?
Well, remember those grand heroic images of service? We often see. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we don't need to wait for some extraordinary opportunity to make a difference. Sometimes fulfilling our duty is about doing the small things well, consistently, and with dedication.
So it's not about waiting for the perfect moment to make a grand gesture. It's about finding ways to live our values in the everyday.
Precisely. It could be as simple as being patient with a frustrated colleague, offering a genuine compliment, or even just taking the time to truly listen to someone who needs to be heard. These small acts done with intention and a spirit of service, can ripple outward and create positive change.
Like the butterfly effect.
Exactly.
One seemingly insignificant action can set off this chain of events with a much larger impact.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that idea of interconnectedness that we touched on earlier.
Right.
Our actions, however small, contribute to the well-being of the whole.
It makes you realize that even those ordinary duties we perform each day, taking care of our families, doing our jobs with integrity, being a good neighbor, they all matter.
They are threads woven into a larger tapestry, contributing to the beauty and strength of the overall design.
And that, I think, is key to finding both motivation and fulfillment in fulfilling our duties.
It's not about seeking external rewards, but about that intrinsic satisfaction that comes from aligning your actions with your values.
So it's about finding that sense of purpose that comes from knowing you're contributing to something larger than yourself.
And that sense of purpose can sustain you through those inevitable challenges and setbacks.
Right, because let's be honest, doing the right thing isn't always easy.
It isn't.
Sometimes it requires sacrifice, courage, even a willingness to go against the grain.
That's where Marcus Aurelius' own example is so inspiring. As Emperor of Rome, he faced immense pressures and temptations, yet remained committed to his principles. He strived to live a life of virtue and service, even when surrounded by corruption and self-interest.
It's a good reminder that these principles aren't just for philosophers or saints. They can be embodied, even in the most demanding of circumstances.
And his example shows us that true leadership isn't about power or personal gain. It's about serving others.
And that feels incredibly relevant today in a world where leadership often seems to be more about ego and self-promotion than genuine service.
Indeed, Marcus Aurelius reminds us that true fulfillment doesn't come from what you take, but from what you give. It's about using your talents and resources to contribute to the common good, to make the world a better place. Even in small ways.
So it's not about achieving some grand heroic status, but finding ways to live your values in the everyday moments of your life.
Precisely.
And
that brings us to a question worth pondering as we continue our deep dive into Book 4. What does it mean to live a life of service in our modern world with unique opportunities and challenges that we face? That's something we'll explore further in the final part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Book 4 of Meditations. We've covered a lot of ground from understanding duty as living in alignment with our nature to those practical tools like focusing on what's in our control and being present in each moment.
Absolutely.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
But as we wrap things up, I'm curious, how do these ancient ideas about service translate to our modern world?
That's the question.
It feels like things have changed.
Of course, the world is transformed in countless ways.
Quite a bit since Marcus Aurelius was giving pep talks to himself as Emperor of Rome.
Yet the core principles that Marcus Aurelius lays out in Meditations remain surprisingly relevant. They speak to those timeless human questions about purpose, meaning, and our interconnectedness with one another.
So how can we take those principles and actually apply them to our lives today? What does a modern-day life of service look like? I think a lot of us have this image of grand gestures and heroic acts, but does it always have to be?
That's a great question. And it's one that I think Marcus Aurelius himself would have appreciated. Remember, he emphasized those everyday acts of virtue. Those seemingly small choices we make that reflect our commitment to the common good.
So you're saying it's not about all of us becoming doctors or social workers or starting nonprofits?
Not necessarily. Where those are certainly noble paths. Service can manifest in countless ways, often in the most ordinary aspects of our lives. It's about shifting our perspective, seeing those everyday interactions as opportunities to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
Give an example. Help our listeners visualize what modern-day service.
So think about a parent patiently guiding their child through a difficult moment.
Mm-hmm.
Or a friend offering a listening ear to someone who's struggling. Consider a coworker going the extra mile to help a colleague meet a deadline. Or a neighbor lending a hand with yard work. These are all acts of service, contributions to the well-being of others.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't require a cape or a superhero costume.
So I love that reframing. It takes those everyday moments and elevates them, reminding us that even the smallest actions can have that ripple effect.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest. It's easy to lose sight.
Yeah, it is.
Of that bigger picture.
Of course.
We live in a culture that often glorifies individual achievement and material success.
That's where Marcus Aurelius's emphasis on self-awareness and inner reflection becomes so crucial. Remember, he encourages us to examine our motivation, to ask ourselves, am I acting out of a place of genuine concern for others? Or am I driven by ego and self-interest? That inner work helps us stay grounded in our values, even amidst the noise and distractions of the world around us.
So it's about consciously choosing to focus on what truly matters.
Exactly.
Prioritizing service and contribution over self-interest and material gain.
It's about cultivating a mindset that recognizes our interconnectedness. Our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. When we act in ways that benefit the whole, we ultimately create a better world for ourselves as well.
It's a powerful reminder that true fulfillment doesn't come from isolating ourselves and striving for personal gain. It comes from recognizing that we're all part of something much larger.
And that brings us back to the Stoic concept of sympathia. This idea that we are all interconnected, like threads woven into the fabric of the universe.
So just like that butterfly flapping its wings can pause a hurricane on the other side of the world, our acts of kindness and service can have a profound impact.
They can.
Even if we don't.
Even if we don't see the results immediately. Precisely. And that's incredibly motivating. It reminds us that we each have the power to make a difference, to contribute to something larger than ourselves. And that sense of purpose, that feeling of being connected to something meaningful can sustain us through the challenges.
Because let's be real, living a life of service isn't always easy.
It isn't always easy.
There will be times when we feel discouraged, overwhelmed, even tempted to give up. What would Marcus Aurelius say to us in those moments?
I think he would likely acknowledge the difficulty, but remind us that we have the inner strength to persevere. He talks about the importance of resilience, facing adversity with courage and determination. He reminds us that setbacks and challenges are part of the journey. They provide opportunities for growth and learning.
So instead of getting defeated by those challenges, we should embrace them.
We should.
As opportunities to strengthen our commitment to our ideal.
He also reminds us to draw strength from our connection to something larger than ourselves, whether that's our community, humanity as a whole, or even the cosmos itself.
It's like remembering that we're all in this together.
Exactly.
And that sense of shared purpose and collective responsibility can be incredibly empowering.
And that brings us to a final point.
All right.
That, I think, is worth emphasizing. This pursuit of a meaningful life, a life of service. It's an ongoing process. It's not about achieving some perfect state of virtue, but about striving to live our values each day, even when we fall short.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up and doing the work. Even when it's hard. Even when we make mistakes.
And that's where self-compassion comes in. Remember, Marcus Aurelius encourages us to be kind to ourselves, to acknowledge our limitations, and to celebrate our successes, no matter how small they may seem.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be human.
That's true.
To stumble and learn and grow along the way.
Because ultimately, the journey is just as important as the destination. And it's through the challenges and triumphs of this journey that we discover our true potential, our capacity for service, and the profound meaning that comes from contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Book 4 of Medication.
Sounds good.
It's been a fascinating exploration of duty and service.
It has.
And how those timeless principles can guide us towards more meaningful and fulfilling lives.
Yes.
As you go forth, dear listener, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius?
Okay.
Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be.
Right.
Be one.